Do you feel like you're completely dysregulated a lot of the time right now with everything going on in the world? Well, if that's you, I've got a lot of tips and tricks today of how to get you back to homeostasis and more regulated here on Boldly Driven Conversations with Bree. Join me.
Welcome to Season 3 of Boldly Driven Conversations with Bree. And this season, we're not just recovering from burnout or people pleasing, but we're rediscovering our lives and we're giving ourselves permission to change everything.
I've talked to a whole lot of people lately who just aren't quite sure how to check in with their nervous system when they're feeling dysregulated and get themselves back to a regulated state. So that's what we're talking about. So I think the first thing that we have to remember is that our goal is never to fix our state that we're in, but to meet our nervous system where it is with support and curiosity and compassion. We're not trying to fix ourselves. There's nothing wrong with us, but we need to think about it as just a place of meeting ourselves where we're at. So when we're doing a nervous system check-in, I want you to make sure that you are keeping that in mind. So first we have to figure out what state we're in. So what are you feeling? If you are feeling anxious, angry, frustrated, wired, irritated, or you have this urgency in you, then you're probably in what is considered a fight or flight mode. And then your physiology is then mobilized to go do. You want to accomplish something. You want to fix something, solve something, or you just want to run away because you don't like what's happening. Like you're mobilized, you're ready to move and make moves. And the problem with this sometimes is that this is a reaction and not necessarily a measured response. And so when we're making these decisions, in whatever situation we're in, they're not always the best choice for us. So we need to kind of check in with ourselves when we have those feelings, those emotions, so that we can get ourselves to a more regulated state so we can make better responses rather than reactions. And you can help yourself. So, and this is how you do it. What we need to do is we need to discharge the stress. So your state is that you're stressed out basically, and you're ready to go, move, get out of here, right? Fight or flight. So we need to discharge the stress. How do we do that? One of the best ways you can do first for yourself is to start shaking or bouncing to release tension. So like literally shaking parts of your body all the way through your body or bouncing up and down. And what this does is it helps your nervous system regulate itself by movement, by discharging the energy, the nervous energy, the anger energy, the tension that's within your body that is causing the stress to release. So you might have to do it for like 10, 15 minutes, but it really does help. I use this with students when they are just have that nervous energy, they're kind of angry, frustrated with something. I use this with my own son. I tell him, let's shake it out. To quote Taylor Swift, shake it out. You know, you just kind of like shake your whole body out and you bounce up and down and to discharge that stress. Another thing you can do is go for a walk. So again, we're immobilizing our body, but we're doing it in a constructive way as a response rather than a reaction. You go for a walk. Another thing you can do is journal or verbally process what you're thinking and feeling that you would want to say in fight mode, especially to a voice note. So this helps us discharge the anger or the feelings that we have, the powerful feeling that we have that is a reaction and not necessarily a response, a measured response. But we can still like release it for ourselves. Sometimes we just need to be heard. And if we can just speak it out verbally as a verbal processor, this really helps me to speak it out and record it and then listen it back to myself. I'm like, oh, that's not really what I meant. That's not really what I feel. Or that's not really what I want to communicate, but it is something that I'm feeling, but I don't necessarily want to communicate that for whatever reason. It's a very helpful tool, writing it out or speaking it out in a voice note. Another way is visual orienting. So oftentimes when we find ourselves in a situation, either with a person or just some kind of situation that's very stressful, that is taking all of our time and focus, we just need to refocus that energy. So we can do what's called visual orienting. This is where when we're focused on one thing and we just watch that one thing. So I don't know if you've ever seen them before. We use these sometimes for kids, especially who are on the spectrum, who might have more violent reactions. We use these a lot in a CDC class where it's like a jar and it has like a liquid in it and a glitter. And so you shake it up and then you just watch it settle down. You just watch the glitter settle. And this just helps ground the mind and gives the mind something to focus on rather than the situation or the feeling, the anger feeling that is causing a reaction rather than a measured response. And the last thing is dancing it out. This is something that is super fun. It actually really discharges all that energy that you might have physically and allows you to have some fun while you're doing it. It can completely change your entire mood. Okay, so when we're in fight or flight, we have energy we need to discharge. When we are feeling, conversely, when we are feeling burnt out, we're feeling trapped, we feel anxiety met with like feeling overwhelmed, then we are often in what's called freeze mode. And this is then a mixed state of being wired, like you have this nervous energy, but also tired. Like you have this energy, but you literally don't know what to do with it and you're kind of frozen in place. Like you really want to go for a walk, but you need to get away, you want to run, but you can't because it's fear. You're like frozen. You don't want to make a mistake a lot of times. And the reason why this reaction rather than as a measured response that is not good is because one, we can put ourselves in danger. And two, this can cause more conflict and more problems, not only for ourselves, but whoever we're having an issue with, and whatever, it could cause a bigger problem with whatever situation is causing our nervous system. It also causes us to shut down. It makes us feel very small and then causes a whole new area of trauma, I guess you could say, in our bodies. And so we need to find safety, but we can't move ourselves to safety. So how can we help ourselves when we are in that situation? The first thing is we have to signal to our body that it's safe. That's what our body is looking for, is that we need to be signaled safety. We can do this by watching something that makes us laugh. So if you're in a state where like you're frozen, your mind just keeps replaying the thing, you're in a situation where you just feel helpless, watch something funny. If it's a YouTube video or like a show that you love, a movie clip, call your friend that makes amazing jokes, like something. If you're able to move yourself at some point, somewhere, somehow, get yourself to where you can laugh. Because the laughter itself, something that you find funny, just kind of like jogs it, where like you're not hyper focused on the thing that is keeping you frozen, whether it's, physically or if it's inaction and procrastination. That's what I'm talking about when we're talking about freeze. So this will help you to kind of like move forward. You can also, if you're in a situation where you feel unsafe, you can start swaying your body back and forth. I don't know if you have children, but I remember when my children were little babies, this gave them that safety feeling of being in the womb, of holding them and swaying them back and forth. I still find myself now in my 40s without any babies. My youngest child is 8, still doing that when I need to seek safety for myself and I feel frozen by a choice that I need to make or a situation that I'm in. I will tend to kind of like sway myself back and forth because this is something that is just innate in us as humans that gives us comfort and safety from when we were in our mother's womb, because we would sway back and forth. We would kind of like float there in the amniotic fluid. And it just gives us, it's a nature thing for us. Biologically, it just makes us feel more safe. So you can do that to your own self and kind of sway your body back and forth, giving yourself safety. The other thing you can do is if you have a weighted blanket. This is a tool that I know a lot of people use. Personally, it doesn't work for me, but a lot of people that I know, having a weighted blanket on them and having the weight on them makes them like feel again that enclosed feeling without being enclosed, and feel the safety feeling of like a really nice good hug. And so the weighted blanket just kind of envelops them and makes them feel safe, gives them that safety feeling. So then they're able to get their nervous system where they need to go and then be able to respond to a situation or a person when they find themselves, their nervous system dysregulated and in a situation that makes them feel unsafe. Next one is do one thing. Just do one thing over and over and over, like sipping water, taking tiny little sips of water, opening up a window, go and stand up and stretch your arms. Just doing something to get your mind off of what it is you are ruminating on, that's causing the fear and the freeze. One little thing can completely change you and kind of get you out of that loop. So if you just take a sip of water, and I find if you do it as a repetitive thing, that can be very comforting, a good coping mechanism. So like taking little sips of water, getting up and going to a window and opening it, getting up, walking around, your house or wherever you're at, doing little tasks. Just one action. If you can just start with one little thing, this will help you get out of that kind of freeze mode. And then you'll be able to make more rational decisions for yourself based on the situation that you're in. Then the third kind of feelings centers that we get is if you're feeling disconnected, numb, depressed, hopeless, or exhausted, just complete exhaustion, then this means you're in what we call shutdown mode. So you're physiologically immobilized. So this is kind of like freeze, but in a deeper place of it. This is often when there's like prolonged freeze and you are kind of in depression, and the burnout mode where you can't get yourself out. You feel completely hopeless. You feel like you're just not able. You just feel like you're not able to do it. So what can you do to help your nervous system get regulated if you find yourself in this really deep place? Is by gently connecting or mobilizing your body very gently, very slowly, with no goal in mind or anything other than just one small step. It's one small step to get you mobilized to be able to go to the next step and the next step. And some days when you're really in this deep place, it's just taking that one step and that's it, and that being enough. So what can we do? We can step outside. So if you're in that place where you're just exhausted and you just can't, take one step outside in the outdoors. Feel the vitamin D in that sunshine, the fresh air. Take one deep breath with one step outside, even if it's just for 5 minutes. And you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything. Just literally walk out the door and stand outside of the doorway for 5 minutes and let the breeze hit you, smell the fresh air, let that vitamin D hit you for just a couple of minutes. And that oftentimes can be a kind of trigger to trigger you out of that state of immobilization, deep immobilization. The other thing you can do is something called color spotting. This is kind of like visual orienting, where you find yourself, if you're just out of it. There's nothing, you can't move, you don't know what to do. Your nervous system is completely dysregulated, and you just feel completely hopeless because it's been a long time period of this feeling. Is color spotting. So you will just look around the room and you're going to decide you're going to look for the color yellow. And so you're just going to look around the room or space that you're in, and you're going to find all the yellow things, whether it's writing on a poster or a yellow pillow in the bedroom, whatever it is, you're going to look for that color. And every time you find it, you're just going to make a mental note of it. Yellow, 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 yellow. And what this does is it helps our mind get out again of the loop that is putting us into this place of depression, this moment of complete immobilization. And by moment, I mean long extended period of time that is that over time. This when we get into this place, it's usually an overtime thing. Usually maybe from sickness or from a long time period of traumatic experiences where we've been in the freeze mode and we've kind of just gotten ourselves stuck there. And then we just feel hopeless, like we can't get out of it. The next thing you could do for yourself is like a vagal neck massage with VU breathing. So what this is right along here is our vagus nerve. Now you do need to be careful with this one if you already have like blood pressure issues or if you have some kind of like heart issue. Don't do this one. But if you have like good blood flow, you're healthy, then this could be a good alternative for you. And so you're just going to right below the ear, kind of just do like a massage. And it really helps just like stimulate. And then with that, you can do something called VU breathing, where you take in a really deep breath into your diaphragm, as deep as you can go, take that little extra sip at the top. And then when you're breathing out, you make a VU sound. VU. And what that does is it kind of like stimulates the same area again, because it's like a vibrating sound. And so what it does is it brings stimulation to an area where you feel numb. Oftentimes our nervous system, our body knows things. Our body knows things, and our body will tell us where there is an issue or where there is a place that we need to bring attention to. And so when we stimulate this area, this is an area where a lot of people oftentimes will feel stuck. And then there's a lot of somatic things that we can do. I do this a lot in my coaching practice. And if you are a part of my Pivot program, which is a 3-month program, we do go through some of this as a tool for us to utilize for ourselves with the somatics, which is using our body, changing our body physiologically through our nervous system, through breathing exercises and things like that. So using the VU breathing is part of that, and it helps our body, stimulate our body in a positive way so that we can get ourselves to give responses rather than this numb reaction, which is no reaction. Another thing you can do is you can connect with a pet or a loved one, especially with a pet. That's so wonderful, is that warmth feeling, that fuzzy feeling, human connection, human touch. Just touch in general is really what you're looking for. You're looking for some kind of connection with someone that you trust, that brings you safety, whether it's a person or a pet. And then the last thing is just gentle movement of your body in general. So it could be light stretching. It could be getting up from the chair that you might be sitting in and lifting your arms above your head and just kind of like gentle stretching of your body. We're not doing the deep stretches like we're going for a run. We're just gently stretching our body and moving it a little bit. And this can help mobilize us just a little bit to get our nervous system to where it's more grounded and making measured responses rather than having this non-reaction reaction. Okay. So your bold question today, your bold challenge question is, how can I give myself the safety that I need? How can I help myself and give myself the safety that I need through one of these different areas whenever I'm feeling anxious, angry, frustrated, wired, irritated, or urgent, or maybe if I'm feeling burnt out and trapped, or anxiety and overwhelmed at capacity, or maybe I've gone to the place where I'm disconnected, I'm numb, I'm depressed, hopeless, or exhausted. How can we use one of these? How can you use one of these practices today to help yourself the next time you have that overwhelming feeling, so that you can ground your own nervous system and give yourself the safety that you are seeking? As always, I would love to give you, if this is something that you are struggling with or you need more direction on, I would love to connect with you. You can find me at my website, BriannaLGeorge.com, and yeah, let's get connected. All right. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching this episode of Boldly Driven Conversations with Bree. Remember, your life is waiting for you. The time to start living it is now. So subscribe now and let's start your next chapter together.